Mr. Joff, great to see you again. We've had ample conversations. You have failed to speak to me about this most exciting project that you've embarked on. I want you to tell me how the IFC is supporting women entrepreneurs and what exactly you're doing at the moment and how you plan to scale up your efforts.
Can you hear me? First of all, I would like to a big thanks to Her Highness for coming and joining us in this effort. It means a lot to us. It's something that we started last year, and it's just becoming something that I would have never expected that it can happen so quickly and this size. But before I start, I have to be a big thank you to Samar. Please come here. So you ask me how IFC and what it's doing. It requires first to have people like her to take the lead and push us, organize us, make us really believe that an idea can be a reality. So what did we do since last year when we met here and we decided that we wanted to support this ecosystem? We started small. So the first thing that we did collectively last year, when I went back to Washington, I said that we need to put more money behind it because we need to reach more people. Secondly, we also decided that we would like to accompany people towards the goals that you have set, which is to have the first unicorn led by a woman in Middle East. And we created this fund, and where is Mohammed Issa here? There is a gentleman who's supposed to be here. Come here, don't hide behind, please, because I will need you to come. So we have created a fund for venture capital and disruptive technology specialized in Middle East. And Mohammed is handling that. So just to cut it short, if you need money, ladies, please, this is a gentleman that at the end of the... So we put his email address on here, and you can send it all the email that you need. So he will be either the most popular or the most unpopular person at the end of this session. So we put that fund and we focused it on Middle East and Africa because there was a place where people have less access to those resources. Third, in our work on gender, we are pushing very much at IFC. It's one of our priority, and we are screening all our projects to have a gender lens in our project and to ensure that when we prepare a project to go to the board, we try to invest in a sector that we have always a gender lens and we have statistics to be able to support, have KPIs in that. Lastly, we are shareholders, we take equity in some companies, and now we have an obligation to have at least 50% of the administrator in companies where we take equities who are women. So we are really mainstreaming that, and we are moving in that direction. What does it mean also? It means that we need to bring the ecosystem to also believe in women. So we need to burst all these myths that are around women entrepreneurs. Because when you talk to those who might want to invest in this early stage, the first thing they will tell you is they repeat all these myths. So these myths are not coming from the skies. It's something that we're hearing every day. So we need to burst this myth and say and show how it's untrue. Secondly, we need to ensure that investors, not only from the Silicon Valley or from the most Western and advanced economies, are investing in startups, but we need to have the billionaire and the millionaire in those countries who believe in startups which are led by women. And that's something that we can do. And this type of meeting will be helping in really raising the profile of this initiative. I would like also to thank very much Sufyan, who has been very much involved in developing all this from the office here in Dubai. So this is the kind of thing that we're doing, but what I want to do, more importantly, is today to listen to new ideas that will help us to take it to the next level.
Brilliant. Thank you. Round of applause for Makta. Can you hear me? Is this mic on? No? Is it on? Fantastic. Okay. Dr. Hanan, welcome. Great to see you. You have a doctorate in neurosurgery. You're a former Moroccan ambassador for the first Youth Forum at UNESCO. You were a member of the COVID-19 task force for the American Moroccan Competencies Network. The list goes on of your excellence. You've left all of that behind. You're focusing on Biotessa and fascinating company. I want you to tell me how you got to where you are today and what sparked this inside you to become an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Eleni. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh, everyone. The first thing I would like to thank, first of all, it's an honor to be here and to meet new faces and see familiar faces from last year and be surrounded by so many talented and inspiring women from the region, from 17 countries. I would like to thank the government of the UAE and Sheikha Latifa for their support for the women entrepreneurship, for breaking down barriers, and for also accelerating women empowerment in the region. I would like to turn to His Excellency. Thank you. I would like to turn to His Excellency Mr. Makhtar Diop and the IFC team for their support, for their dedication, for the entire team, IFC Rabat, IFC Washington, D.C., MENA region. I mean, the team has been fantastic since meeting them last year. Thank you for your dedication and support, for putting gender at the heart of your mission, and for supporting this endeavor. Because as we know, only 6% of women have access to early stage equity in the MENA region, so in Middle East and North Africa. And it is very commendable what the IFC has been doing for the women endeavor. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
To talk a little bit about Biotessa, so I think the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has truly changed the way we look at healthcare and health in general. We look at health now with a different lens. And we really wanted to be part of the sanitary reform that His Majesty has started in Morocco under his guidance and leadership. So it was really heartbreaking to see that despite Morocco's accomplishment and excellence in so many fields, that we're still ranked 122nd out of 191 countries. And this poor ranking was so heartbreaking that we had to do something. When we looked at the cause why Morocco was so poorly ranked, it was mainly because of health access and cost. So we wanted to be part of the solution. We have partnered with a company based in California, and we have looked at ways to go to the population and underserved areas of Morocco, because the way to find the solution is prevent diseases, chronic diseases, to find a solution to go and screen early. When we see that the second leading cause of death in Morocco is still cervical cancer, and we know that we can prevent death by screening for HPV, or that we still have over 5,000 deaths a year with hepatitis C that could be preventable, or HIV. So we have solutions, but we don't have health access because of the cost. So we have this innovative solution where we collect biosample, we go to the populations, biosample, process, screen, and centralize in a lab in Morocco. So with the Sheikh Khalifa Foundation in Casablanca, we do the collection, processing in a reduced cost and a very fast, speedy turnaround time.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
A round of applause for Dr. Hanan. I mean, the pandemic certainly lifted the hood on the deficits that we've seen in the healthcare sector in so many emerging markets. So it's incredible to see you filling that gap and finding the opportunity to make Morocco stronger. Yasmin, welcome. Another amazing bio, which I can, talk about. Over 15 years of international experience across the energy sector and oil and gas. And I love this, that it's in your bio, that all about productivity, improving efficiencies. This is exactly what I love.
A typical woman job.
It's great. And then you start a business in logistics, which is absolutely male dominated. How did you do it? And what were some of the challenges that you experienced?
All right, thank you so much for the intro, and thank you, Mr. Diop and Sheikha Latifa, for having us here. I second Hanan for all her thanks, and Hanan knows more about the program because she has been here last year, so I'm yet to see all of this exciting and interesting experience with all my other co-founders and colleagues. So actually, it wasn't planned. So falling from oil and gas wasn't planned. Logistics wasn't planned. Moving back to Egypt because I left Egypt since 2005, since my graduation from the university. I have economics background, so not at all in logistics. I joined an engineering company like Schlumberger, work with engineer, have no background of engineering. So let's say not knowing is a bless as well. So falling into logistics was through a personal experience. I came back to Egypt and I had a personal experience, forgot my phone, needed to deliver my phone, and I didn't find an app. I had my co-founder, who's a male co-founder, who's based in Paris, and I said, can you imagine Egypt, 120 million people with Cairo so big, and I could not get my phone delivered because there's no app. And he was like, this is a great idea, why don't we do the business? And he had the idea. I was at that time in Boston studying at Harvard, and I kept looking at all other startups in Latin America and Asia in similar markets like Egypt. And so the amount of money was raised, the amount of success and growth these companies. At that time, I didn't actually think male dominant, female or not. I was just like, it's an opportunity, and let's do it. So raised the amount actually back in the US. And
Was that easy to do, to raise the money?
I
Or should I
think-
ask, how difficult was it? Not was it easy?
Honestly, I don't think raising money, men or female, is difficult. Yes, we could admit that female is less access. The statistics show that globally, and not only in MENA region, you have 2% of women have access to finance for their startups. But that is, I personally believe, is a whole ecosystem. So the ecosystem from a government, so ecosystem from women themselves, believing in themselves and being ambitious enough to go and tackle experience, and as well as the investors. So it was not easy, but I think your business model, how you can present it, how you believe in it, how passionate you are about it, how ambitious and sure when you pitch your plan to the investors. So actually, I had a cold call in the class. So they were asking us to study a business, and I thought, okay, Harvard is not very cheap. Let me use these professors. At least they can look at my business case. I laid it down as a business case of a startup to start in Egypt. And then the professors were excited. Is this a startup already existing? And I was just getting, from finance professors, from launching technology
Like,
professors.
this is going to work.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so
good.
then they were modifying my business model, and then they cold called me and they said, can you pitch for us? Or do you know about Egypt? Do you have this? And you need to be ready when you want to do, so you know your business, you know your story.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so interesting to see the value chain, right, of the way that businesses are created from inception to forming the business plan, everything that is absolutely required. But our money guy has left.
The
Our
money guy.
financier.
No,
Is he
he's
Where
here.
is he? Oh, there you are. I was like, why did you move? I was watching you. No, we need you. So let's talk about the financing portion and how the IFC and how developmental institutions can specifically bridge that gap when it comes to women startups, women-run startups.
I think that we need to have more of these meetings and just to do it. And I think that I'm a big believer of just to do it.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's, you can ask yourself many questions, you can try, and I'm ready to take the risk. I'm ready to lose money. Okay, and my team is looking at me with big eyes.
Are you looking to de-risk projects as well? Do you find some of these projects are well
we will
planned?
be de-risking thing, but we will take also risk ourselves. And I do think that we will be losing sometimes some money, but we'll be making some money sometime. And if you have a good portfolio management, that's why I have a great team like these guys will be able to find the right solution. But I think that we need to just jump in the pool and stop saying that it has to be done. And I think that's what this initiative is about. We started it last year. We came and said, okay, now we don't have enough equity investment in early stage. We need to do something. So we put the $75 million that we need to invest now in startup in Middle East. Now some money is here. We need to have the project. And I hope that after this meeting, we will have and I was not joking when I was saying that the email will be put here. The idea is that we would like to see what are the next phase for you to have a Serie A, whatever you you need to do. And we will look at it with the rigors that need to use to look at this project. Secondly, we need to de-risk more. You have a lot of philanthropy. We are looking at this space, but we don't have the expertise that we have and knowledge of the market. So what we would like to do is to team up with them and to see if we can find means and ways to de-risk and to be able for them to help us absorb the first losses, to provide some guarantee and things like that.
What is the success rate of the She Wins program in terms of the businesses that you've been
I don't have the
working with?
numbers right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure that someone, but I didn't hear that it was significantly different from the portfolios that we are having, in the part of our equities.
Well, it's run by women. It should be better, actually.
So-
So I'm not sure.
And I'm sure that there should be better, but it's not. There is no significant
Yeah.
difference, and I think that is the most important story. Third is I am a big believer of women in science. This is something that I'm passionate about. So whenever I hear a woman and I mentioned it in the plenary, when you see that you have now a Senegalese woman who is AI professor at Princeton, it with the first black woman there, show you that African women in the Middle East have the potential to do a lot. And I know that you have a neurosurgeon here, you have an economist here. So the potential is here. It's just for us to believe that we need to invest. And by doing that, what we can do is to bring other people to invest and co-invest. So one of the abilities that we have is to leverage our name, leverage our expertise, leverage our understanding of the ecosystems that some investors in Silicon Valley don't know. They don't know the ecosystem in Morocco or Egypt. We know the ecosystem, and we are able to bridge it and bring some resources. So, in a nutshell, like Nike, let's just do it. And next year we'll meet again, take stock of what we have learned of this year of experience, and we will be taking the corrective action. And I hope that will lead for us to put more resources behind this.
Very exciting. On that note, so then, Dr. Hanan, where do you want to see your business? What do you need to scale, get even bigger?
Funding?
Funding, it's always money.
So I will tell you that since last year, the She Wins Arabia initiative, we've had an amazing year. Immediately after the She Wins Arabia initiative, I was selected to be among the 2022 Builders of Africa's Future, among even 11 others entrepreneurs. And that has allowed us, to get a grant, which was great. So I think the visibility that was, thank you. So it's truly thanks to the initiative, because it was immediately after that I got selected as one of the 11 entrepreneurs, which was great. Immediately after, we started having many discussions with the IFC in Rabat and many strategic partnerships and other institutions such as Prosper Africa. And recently, actually, a couple months ago in December, there was the Africa Business Leaders Summit in Washington, D.C., and Biotesia was among the 2 projects selected by Prosper Africa. So we have full commitment of Prosper Africa, and that was great. That was thanks to the She Wins Arabia initiative. Thank you.
Incredible.
I can add something specific. We're organizing the CEO, every year we're organizing the CEO Forum in Abidjan, that you know.
Yeah.
So one of the things that if time allows, I would like us to organize a special session at the CEO Forum and you, both of you will be invited because you are from North Africa, so it's a part of the CEO Forum, and we'll do something specially for Middle East. But I think that already in June we can try to organize something and to see if some of the investors on the continent are ready to put money behind your ideas. Just to give you an example, last year we had invited InstaDeep. We wanted to work with them because this is a woman and a man. And for those who know InstaDeep, they're the one who are behind the AI work of the mRNA vaccine, and we've just been bought by BioNTech.
Yeah.
And it's a Tunisian-based startup. We wanted to invest in them, but other people brought more money than us and took them. That's fantastic. So we would like to have those kind of things multiply.
Brilliant. I'm going to be at the Africa CEO Forum. Please, Mr. Diop, I'd love to join you for that conversation, yeah?
Excellent.
Amazing. And I know that the CEOs and the delegates there would love your stories.
Thank you.
Yasmin, before we open to the floor, because I would love some questions from the audience as well. You were telling us about how you were able, in that moment, to use your plan with the professors and kind of get it to a point where it was sellable. When you're going to investors now, as you try to scale and get bigger, what are the big conversations? What are the questions that are being had? I'm taking into consideration as well that you're in a market right now that is extremely volatile. It's dealing with currency fluctuations. It's not easy. Tell us.
So I managed to raise $10 million over seed round and Series A. The $3 million at the beginning were easy and much easier than the 7 million. So that's for everyone. The seed round, your idea is still in inception. The traction is not really, something that you need to show. In Series A, there's a heavy, at a later when you launch your business. So you need to show traction. You need to show growth. You need to show retention for all the women that have customer-based or service they are providing. You need to show that how flexible you are in a business. Being in a volatile market is definitely something that is even more challenging now because you need to reassure investors of your company performance, showing the growth, but as well as showing how you can pivot. So we pivoted the business 3-4 times along the journey. We only launched in 2020. And we're always pivoting to be able to respond to the market challenges, changes, or opportunity. Yeah. So what I would personally, from my personal experience, advise is really, yes, believe in your idea, be super ambitious, and try to not consider the risks, but not to shy away from them. But on the other side, be as flexible as you are to arrive to the next stage. So one of the person before I started in Series A advised me, and it was another co-founder, and he told me something that I didn't understand. He say, you need to kiss a lot of frogs. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm not kissing anyone. And he was like, no, you just need to study very well your investor, okay? You see which words do you want to hear that is related to your business, and make sure they hear it. Because then you need to get your story out, and you're speaking to I spoke to 128 investors for Series A. I was getting any list from the people who would do the investors, very minimal amount of checks, to the top people. I think there are some investors in the room here that I have crossed and tapped on their door, but just, be adamant about it and know your story very well.
Did any of them turn into princes?
A lot.
Into money, in other words.
I was successful in that.
Okay, we have the microphones ready. Are the microphones ready? Yes, fantastic. Okay, this is your turn. Anyone want to weigh in on what they need next? Thank you very much, ma'am. Please introduce yourself. What do you need to scale?
Okay, actually that's not my input. So.
Okay, tell me, yeah.
All right. So I'm Nadine, I'm from Jordan, founder of Kitsch Market. And actually I'm here just to raise, I want to bring your attention to something that's a bit sensitive, but it needs to be said anyway. So there are some countries in the MENA region that have showed a lot of progress when it comes to legal restrictions towards women entrepreneurs. However, on the other hand, there are a lot of other MENA countries that still have restrictions and law regulations that actually limit women entrepreneurs from excelling, such as guardianship laws, marriage laws, labor laws, and even business registration laws, which require a male co-signer. So what I want to ask you here, and given that we are at the World Government Summit, and I believe that you guys have the power to begin promoting this across the governments in the MENA region, because when we resolve the root cause, everything else will change and will follow, and the whole lens on women entrepreneurship will also change.
Thank you so much. Look, it's a policy. It's a policy discussion. And we're sitting here and we don't have power over policy, but you can have an ear to policymakers and say, look, this is a sector of the economy that we can't ignore. How do we make it easier?
Every country has its own path. I think it's important to acknowledge it, and I think that this is something that I feel strongly, that we need to have every society evolving to, obviously, and the evolution of the society will come from people from within that society.
Yeah.
But what we can do, and we are doing, is to provide knowledge around this. We have a report which is called Law and Women, which is a very important report that we are releasing every year, which has been very important in informing the discussion and informing the debate, and have led to change in laws which are supporting a higher labor force participation of women and addressing some of the bottlenecks. Actually, we are about to launch the next one in a few days at March 8, and you know why it's March 8. So Women's Day will be the day that we'll be launching that report. We will be addressing a certain number of questions and show experience where some of these constraints has been addressed. So this is the way we're working. But what I've seen is in the Middle East, the general trend is really to move in that direction. And I think the country where we are right now is a good example of progress which have been made in that direction. So we really continue working with government, but I think I would like to emphasize that the evolution of each society is coming from within, and every country has its own pace of moving in some directions.
Thank you for that, and thank you for that
Nadine.
intervention as well. All right, another comment, but I would like to find out, yes, what you need. This is my question. You can choose to say something else. I'll give you free rein, but what do you need to get bigger? What is it, the one thing that you would require at this stage in your business? Do we have a microphone? Oh, you've got a microphone already. Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much for having us this year again, and thank you very much for getting our voice here. So
Can you just switch it on? There's a little button. Can you just see? Just turn it up.
Is it working now?
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, so I was saying that thank you very much for having us last year, and not just this, but hearing our voice. So last year we requested from the IFC team to have the setup of this event this year more of networking and investor matchmaking, etc. And this is exactly what we found. So thank you very much for hearing our voice. So this is one. And the second thing that us wanting to expand to be the next unicorns, we need to be able to access the other markets in the region. So here we're beautiful ladies and successful entrepreneurs from across the Middle East. But to be honest, now I want to expand to the rest of the GCC, for example. And I'm not sure where to find the right data to access this market. Same for North Africa. So access to markets data is very important.
Thank you so much. Lovely. I'm going to take another comment before we answer. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Is it working? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Can you just... Yeah, let me help you. We're recording. Just turn, upwards. Up.
Hi.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity and for the organizing team. My name is Yasmin. I'm from Open Startup in Tunisia. We are a support structure working for the MEA region. My question is actually a bit specific. You have mentioned, sir, you highlighted the interest in women in science. And personally, I'm happy that in Tunisia, for example, we have more women graduating from science and engineering background, more than men. And we have more than 70% of PhD holders that are females. Now, the question is, when it comes to entrepreneurship, there are trendy efforts right now to support deep tech in the continent and the region. However, I wanted to ask, when it comes to investment and patient investment, because the return on investment when it comes to deep tech projects would take a lot of time, a lot of patience, and actually specific kind of investors. So here I would like to hear if, by the way, we do work on a program called BRAIN in Tunisia with MIT, and IFC Tunisia is actually part of it. But I wanted to know, does IFC Global have strategy to support deep tech innovation? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. What's up?
I think the gentleman who's sitting next to you is coming from that university. So actually, we have actually a partnership with MIT ourselves, working with them on our general programs and particularly on deep tech. And actually, we have one of the reasons why we asked Mohammed to join us a year ago is because he's been working in this ecosystem and has been working. So the idea is to bring more and more the innovations that have been happening at things like Media Lab and other places like that to be able to use it in the developmental world. And I think that today we have more and more people working in deep tech in developing countries, and I think that is an opportunity to do that. So what I would like to do, and I will give Mohammed an opportunity to comment about it, is I come back to the point that in most of developing countries, the billionaires don't yet believe in startup and deep tech. They still believe that in brick and mortar is much easier to find a billionaire in Africa, in the Middle East, investing in cement factory, in things. And if you tell them to put 1/10 of that amount in deep tech, they start looking at you. So I think that there is a need to educate them and expose them to what. And I think that the AI revolution, which is happening now, will be a way for them to be exposed much faster to the importance of deep tech. And I would like to thank the UAE for being the first country in the world, I think, to have, maybe the unique country in the world to have a Ministry of AI, to have anticipated that. So, if you listen today to the keynote address, it was clear that the adoption, and I wanted to highlight it because I was in Davos last month, and you'll be surprised that the importance of the conversation about AI today. It was about ChatGPT, it was about ChatSonic, it was everything about AI. And I think that now more and more of these entrepreneurs will be exposed to what is deep tech because they have no choice, their own business, and I hope that we open a little bit more their eyes to things. So we do our bit, but we need to have much more investors in the developing countries who believe in deep tech and technology in general.
Brilliant.
But Mohammed will tell you some specific things about.
You got a big job there. Oh, you got a mic. Go for it.
Aside from the money, now I have to do deep tech. No, as Marta said, look, so we think of the world fundamentally not just about investing in B2B companies or fintech, right? So deep tech is really important for us. We've made significant investments both internally in terms of resources. One of our lead, sector leads for deep tech is a woman who used to run a robotics company. So she's really at the forefront of the industry. Now, we always have anticipated the AI revolution, but we also think that there's quantum computing and healthcare. All these require technology. In the US, we have a partnership with MIT, the MIT Engine. We are LPs in that. They have been very successful at breakthroughs in energy solutions, in clean cement, a lot of sort of climate-related activity. For the developed world, we're working with accelerators to sort of encourage deep tech investments at the early stage level, so targeting universities, targeting startups like yourselves, women and men, to sort of encourage them to think about the world, not just about starting an e-commerce company, but really science-related deep tech breakthroughs, because we believe the breakthroughs are going to come from emerging markets. They have an equal chance of coming out of emerging markets than developed. I was in Senegal a couple of weeks ago, and I met a gentleman who was a data scientist. It turned out that he's one of the leading AI engineers who came out of Silicon Valley, could have continued his career at Google or Facebook or Microsoft, decided he wanted to go back to the continent to sort of develop the next generation of data scientists. He's the one who trained the InstaDeep engineers to develop the mRNA breakthrough. Right? So there's a lot of heavy, deep math coming out of the emerging markets. It's not just in Silicon Valley or Boston and so forth.
So
Brilliant.
I just want to add on this, is one of the areas we would like to do a lot, and already is everything about genomics. We believe that genomics will be an area where you will have a lot of application and therefore a lot of money. And we are currently helping countries to produce mRNA vaccine in South Africa, in Rwanda, and now in Senegal. But also we would like other startups to focus on the genomics issues, just because we'll be solving some very important developmental issues. If you know that the cancer treatment today are very skewed towards a certain type of population, but particularly the Caucasian, so people from the Middle East, people from Africa, don't have the same efficiency in the medicines they use because they don't have enough gene sequencing. So we would like to invest in those startups which will be able to gather those information so that we'll be able to solve developmental problems. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to solve is a developmental problem, but it's exactly what Mohammed said.
So many opportunities, right? And so many exciting examples. I think the one missing link is that we need to cover the stories more. So we need to talk, sir, about getting some of the companies that you spoke about on CNN, on my show Connecting Africa or Marketplace Middle East. They sound fantastic. And frankly, we're not covering them enough, right? We're doing the macro big industrial projects, the big manufacturing plants, or, we're not doing some of the exciting innovations that are coming through. I know there are more hands, but I want to get to Dr. Hanan and Yasmin as well. I want you to weigh into some of the things that you've heard and how that speaks to you and your experience.
Can I elaborate
yes,
on
please,
what
especially
His
the
Excellency
healthcare
just
side,
said, actually? So to follow on our conversation with Prosper Africa, so we are right now in the due diligence phase with Cross-Boundary and the DFC, the Development Finance Corporation, because we are launching a manufacturing plant in Morocco, so made in Morocco, made in Africa, for Africa and the Middle East. So we were part of the solution, and I'm showing exactly what we're doing. So this is a QR-coded biosampling tube that we have been using to collect. The beauty about this is for Africa, it can store DNA and RNA up to 5 years at room temperature.
Wow.
And without cold chain supply, which is perfect for the populations, especially underserved populations. So it's for microbiome, it's for sequencing, genomics, DNA, RNA,
How
saliva.
are you able to store at room temperature?
So there is a special buffer with Maui DNA based in California. So instead of importing and distributing and collecting and processing, we want to control the supply chain. So now we're building a manufacturing plant in Morocco for Africa. We have signed an MOU with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Riyad Mazzour, and with the Ministry of Investment, Convergence and Public Policy, Mr. Mohsin Jazouli, a couple months ago, and they're financing part of the project. So it is, we're very excited, and I think everything started since the She Wins Arabia initiative last year.
Fantastic. Well done. That is very cool.
I need to say
Yasmin.
that's spot on. That's an excellent pitch.
Isn't it?
So-
Can you do
It
one
came
up
from
on
the
that?
heart.
How are you feeling?
Okay, now she's putting pressure on me. So
Thank you.
no, actually, I think the point was touched on for expansion to other markets. That's very important, especially when a market like Egypt now is very volatile. Other markets are more stable. So connecting us with offices, whether it's IFC, whether it's other offices there where we could understand a little bit about the country. One thing that is actually missing in our part of the world, which is the emerging markets, is the correct data. If you go in the West, you could see the total addressable market, you could see the data of consumption and all of that. Here, I need to speak to investors that I have relation with, and I would say, do you know what is the market for grocery, the market for this? You have the data, but not as at your hand. And this doesn't help us as business to know whether we are tackling the right opportunity or not, which is something we are lacking in our region, whether it's in our own market, because our own market as well most of them are informal markets. So even governments do not have data. Sometimes they come to us to ask us, how many orders are you doing a day?
Information, right? Just on that, we had an interesting question earlier about you're in your market and then you want to expand, right? You want to go into the rest of the GCC and you don't have the data, or you don't know how to go about it, and you're looking at policies and cross-border trade issues. Have you got experience in that, given that you were in various sectors before you started your business?
Yes, actually. Inside Egypt itself, I didn't have enough data to understand how much market share. I mean, I do it based on my assumptions, based on other collecting of data, but I don't have solid data. For other markets, yes, I'm doing it myself. So reaching out to offices, to reaching out through my network to other, like Morocco, for example. I was speaking with Hanan. I said, I would love to come and understand a little bit more about your country. But having that at stake right away would save you a lot of time. And actually with startups, and I don't mean anything but startup with big institution like IFC and all of that, if I come to IFC and say I want, and then it's a 1 year to respond, 1 year we're somewhere else completely as a business, so the speed is needed for this, because you need to capture on the opportunities.
Look, I know the IFC and then all the developmental institutions can be bureaucratic and slow sometimes, but I know that you're not like that, Mr. Diop. I know that you act speedily. We've had this conversation about
yes.
bureaucracy.
Actually, I think that we are all trying as a team to move faster, and because the world move fast. I think that we were able to meet your standard in terms of speed.
Thank you.
From 1 year to another, and I think that is something that we will be continue doing. It's never fast enough. It's so you cannot never be happy with the speed of. So we with humility we take really the feedback, because I think that's the best way for us to. We have learned from the experience. We have reduced a lot of our internal processes and procedures, which were sometimes didn't allow us to react as fast as we wished. And I think that we're getting a point where I think we are able to respond pretty fast. But what I think that you said about the data availability, it means that when I was coming here, my colleague was saying, we did it for Shirin Arabia. Why don't we do now Shirin Latin America, Shirin Asia, another part of the world? And maybe this is the next step, because it will allow you to network with other people from different ecosystems, so that we'll be able to start having these informal networks that are needed. On the data side, it will take more time because you need to have systems in place. But I think that at least having different, like the WEF is having the WEF in Davos, but have WEF in different regions, we can have the same model here that we are replicating and maybe aggregating it later on. And since you have the first starter, your ecosystem will be the more mature and you will be certainly aspiring. So something that we might want to take as an idea, as a follow-up. We have great supporters who, Your Highness is here, and we really appreciate the time you're taking to be with us. And if you had moved in that direction, we'll be really delighted if you accepted to continue giving your moral support. It means a lot to all of us. And to also continue and bringing leaders who could bring us around the table and help us accelerate the process. And I think also that you also think about only the market in the neighboring countries, but I think that the market also in more advanced ecosystem is also a market that you need to reach. And the fact that you are seeing more and more Silicon Valley coming and buying startup in emerging economies is showing that you are coming with solutions which are not only local, but which are global solutions. And I think that sometimes you're underestimating your the global character of the solutions that you are bringing.
Interesting, because sometimes we shouldn't sell ourselves, right? Because we should be growing into our own unicorns in our own right. Okay, so, well, since you said you were thinking about, expanding She Wins, should we make a commitment today? By the time we meet next year, there's another She Wins.
So
what's the next She Wins?
I need to look at the body language of people sitting in front of me. Is they not? I will take the commitment. If they're hesitant, I will consult with them during the cocktail before giving. But I think that but to be more serious, I think that's something that we would like to do, and I think we can start the process. Maybe it will not be all region, but I think we can start at least another region next year, but I think that what we have started here at the World Government Summit is quite unique, because I think it came spontaneously from really. And really, once again, you have been the champion in the region, and we are in a process of beefing up our gender team. So I will need to have a little bit more of you to go and spread the word in other parts of the world. But I think that realistically we can expand it next year.
I hold you to it. I will ask the question. Do not
I'm sure that you asked me the question. That's why I'm hesitant. But I think that I can jump in the pool and say yes.
Fantastic. Dr. Hanan, what do you think of expanding this program? And has it had a significant impact in your life?
What do I think of
She
this
wins.
program
Yeah, well,
expanding?
no,
I think
yeah.
it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if she wins, MENA wins, Asia wins, other continents win. So I think it will be a great initiative to expand to other regions. It can only benefit women, women entrepreneurs, and we need programs like this, the mentorship, financing opportunities to support.
What was the most important thing? Was it mentorship or financing?
I would say the mentorship and the networking that we got from the experience and the first cohort was just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And for you, Yasmin?
I second Hanan completely because I actually think of learning about other experiences is very important. And one thing I have done when I went back to look at other markets, I looked at Indonesia, Iran, I looked at Latin America, Colombia for companies similar. What did they do? I reached out to the co-founders. What were the lessons learned? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Because in the end, you get some similarities in market and emerging markets. And actually, it helped me a lot to have a jump start. So definitely exchanging ideas and knowledge and sharing the experience is a very valuable asset for us. So yes.
Right, we're going to wrap up now. Mr. Diop, do you have any last words? Any more commitments you want to give us that we can hold you to account next year?
No, just to say that a big thank you to all of you. I just for me, it's really a blessing to be part of this project and this initiative. I take a lot of so it's not work for me; it's pleasure because I take a lot of pleasure to be part of it, and also a bit of pride to be part of this effort that we are making. I do believe that it would be not a good outcome if there were only women in this room and not men who are considering that is as important that for any women in the room to be able to express his full potential. So for me, it's a commitment that I have personally, it's a commitment in our institution. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for really giving us the energy to continue. And I can say that we will continue doing more. We is the only person I say to IFC, you have no limit, just to spend the money and you will have more, is Issa. So, Mohamed Issa. So,
That's a great, you've got a great mandate. What
So
an easy life.
he has a budget, he has the money, and if you spend it, I will give him more.
I have one last very quick question. Do you believe that in the room here, or, anyone that's been part of the She Wins program has the ability, potential to become a large multinational company on the continent, in the region, globally?
Not
I mean, what
everybody.
do you think? Not everybody.
Not everybody will be.
Because I know you've got a good eye, because I think you invested in M-Pesa when everyone thought it was kind of loopy,
yes,
right?
But I think that I'm sure that here there will be a unicorn one day.
One day, we're
I
far
don't know
away
which one
still.
will be the unicorn, but let's make sure that we have a unicorn coming from this effort and exercise. And I think that the things that I will ask you, you have to sit in front of the billionaires in your country and tell them to put their money in your business. Because it starts there. And that's my message to, when I go to the CEO forum, when I meet the investors in emerging economies, in Africa, in Middle East, I say, believe in your startup. Because tomorrow you will be the first one to complain and say, someone from Silicon Valley come and bought this company and make money out of it. Where were you at that time? When they knock at your door, why didn't you believe in them? So we need to carry on repeating that message. I think IFC, we are believers in it. We show it, but we need to convince much more the traditional investors in emerging economies who still believe that it's about brick and mortar and traditional, and not understand that it goes beyond that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yasmin, Dr. Hanan. Thank you. Mr. Diop, thank you very much for joining us.